Today, I want to stress to you guys how important it is to seize the morning. I believe the morning is a communion with the divine. It is a time in the day where you can be alone with yourself. And if you get out in nature and say, go for a walk, as I like to do, it feels like a communion with something bigger than you. And it's an amazing way to get your head on for the day. I believe too many people overlook how important the morning is. And they they try and sleep as much as possible, which is good, but I mean more like people try to sleep, say they have to work at 9 o'clock, and it takes them 30 minutes to get ready and it's a 15-minute drive. They'll sleep till 8 and then be rushing to get to work on time. Instead of going to bed at 10 o'clock, getting up at 6, going for a nice morning walk, going to the gym, reading, writing, and then casually making your way to work without stressing about being on time. I believe this is so valuable because it starts your day off with a win. And it starts your day off with, in my opinion, getting the most important things done. And I think it's almost trite to say, but how you start your mornings is how it has a reflection on how your day is. If you have a bad morning, it's a lot of people say, oh, this is ruining my day. You just had a bad morning, but people say, oh, my day is ruined. And sorry if you notice I'm shaking and my voice is like chattering because it's the morning and I'm a little cold. It's a little cold out here today. Um, but beside the point, if you have say this ruined my day, and days are made up of weeks. So if you every day let your morning get ruined, and you ruin each day, then you're going to ruin a week. And then if you ruin a week, you're going to ruin months. If you ruin months, you're going to ruin years. If you ruin years, you're going to ruin your life. It's as simple as that. And I don't think enough people view life in this way. You think, oh, it's just one day. And that is true. But if you're building habits that are going to stick around for many days, for many weeks, many months, many years, you're building habits that stick around the rest of your life. And before you know it, your time's gone and you wasted your whole life. And it all starts in the morning. I mean, for most people, some people are shift workers and stuff like that. And that's another point I wanted to get to. A lot of people say they're not morning people. And I, I truly don't think I'm a morning person. That's why I need to know myself, and I need to wake myself up in the morning. And I do this with a walk and some pre-workout. And that helps me wake up because I wake up dead tired, and I always have my whole life. And I used to always think, oh, I'm a night owl, I'm a night person. And genetically, I may be. It wouldn't surprise me. But there's something so amazing about the morning that I don't care if I'm a night owl. Like I need that communion with the divine in the morning. And to me, it's just whenever I whenever I go to bed late and I wake up at like say 8 o'clock, I feel like I'm running behind the whole day. Before I know it, it's already the afternoon, and then before I know it, it's already 5 o'clock, and then the sun's setting, and then it's night, and it's like, where'd the day go? But if I get up before or with the sun, there's something that just feels so rich about the day. The day feels so whole. You know, when sun sets, you just look back on the day like, wow, it feels like a whole day. And obviously, like I said, you have to know yourself. To me, the morning is too valuable to give up. It's too valuable. But for some people, the night is too valuable to give up. But you have to be honest with yourself and say, am I truly a night owl? Do I truly do my best work at midnight? Because midnight and 5 in the morning are very similar. You know, nobody's up. You have solitude. You have peace and quiet to do your work. But if you sit here and try to tell yourself, oh, I'm a night owl, I do my best work at night, ask yourself, what are you doing at night? Are you just watching TV, playing video games? Yeah, you may be a night owl, but if you potentially do your best work at night, but you're not working, what are you doing? What are you doing? So just be honest with yourself. And that's what I had to do. I told myself and people for the longest time that I was not a morning person. And in a way, I still don't think I am. I don't think, like, I wake up, like I said, very tired. I wake up, it's always a struggle, but I know there's something divine out there that is waiting to be experienced. And I won't experience it if I hit the snooze button and I go back to bed. But I will experience it if I get up, I go outside, I feel the cold, I hear the birds, you know, I listen to nature and just let my mind roam. And that's another thing. This time in the morning, I'm sorry if you can really notice my chattering, um, but that's beside the point. Another valuable thing I think we need to remember is, you know, when you go for a morning walk, this is not a time to put your headphones in and listen to music or even listen to a podcast or an audiobook. No. This is your communion with the divine, with the muses, as Stephen Pressfield would say. You know, I believe there's divine inspiration in the morning, and if you cloud out your mind with these external noises, you're gonna lose it. You're gonna lose it, and you need to start your day off with wins. You know, this is why I believe. Well, it is why Jordan Peterson talks about making your bed in the morning. Now, I will never make my bed in the morning. I and that's personal that's a personal thing because I don't see the point in it. I understand getting a win in the morning. That's why I write, read, journal, walk. Now gonna post videos every morning because of a certain situation that has happened in my life that I will make a video on, but that's for another video. um, but that's what Jordan Peterson talks about when he says make a video or make your bed in the morning. I don't make my bed because I don't like my sheets tucked in, like, at all. So my bed's gonna get messy again. So to me, it's a waste of time. But I understand the point behind it. But I believe getting up and going for a walk is more important than sitting there and making my bed. And that's just my opinion. But I think this is why it's so important to know yourself and to not be a herd animal. And that's the big thing, I think. You feel like you're just in that herd mentality when you allow yourself to fall into the schedule of society, the 9 to 5 schedule. Oh, I wake up at 8 and I go to bed at 11, or I go to bed at midnight. That's just that's just the herd animal mentality. And, I watch TV till I go to bed, and I wake up with just enough time to get ready and go to work. I don't leave myself time to go to the gym, read, walk, write. I don't leave myself any of that time. And you're just following in the footsteps of society. And I think it's very valuable to beware the crowd. I think it's very safe sometimes if you see a crowd of people going this way, just Merit might be the wrong word, but I'm going to say merit. Based off merit, you should just go the other way. It's probably the wrong word, so don't hold me accountable, but you know what I mean. A lot of the times, if you see it, I'll give you a story. Recently I was in Arches National Park, and there was a line of cars. It probably would have taken me about 10 minutes to get through it. And then I looked to the right, and if any of you guys been to national parks, you know how it works. You have your stations where you drive up to and pay or give them your pass so you can enter the park, and they have green arrows on which ones you can go to. And there's one right next to it. There's nobody in line, and there's a green arrow. And I just get in line and I see this, and I'm like, I'm gonna go over there. And I turn my car and go to that line. And the guy says to me, he's like, congratulations on being smarter than everyone else. And I sat there and I was like, they're just a bunch of herd animals. I thought that was pretty messed up after I said it, but it was true. It was just, they were just, one person made a decision, and the other people based their decisions off of one person's thinking. And that's what doctrine is, and that's what dogma is you rely on other people's thinking. And I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay. If I make a mistake, I want it to be my mistake. So that's just a little sidetrack. Just beware the crowd. Because if you see a crowd of people, it's not always, but a lot of the times, it's safe to assume that that crowd of people is there based off of one person's thinking. Oh, I'm going to go here. So you go there. Or, okay, I'm going to go there. I've evaluated the situation. This person may be not the smartest. And then someone walks up and they say, well, someone's over there. I'm going to go over there. Another person walks up, 2 people over there. I'm going to go over there. 3 people come up. Oh, I'm going to go over there. And then before you know it, there's 100 people over here. And then someone else comes up and says, wait, why there and not there? And then they go over there. That's kind of a weird example. Not really an example at all, but I think you guys understand the point. And I just wanted to kind of tie that in with, just because nobody else gets up at 5 in the morning to read, walk, write, go to the gym. I mean, people do, but just because the crowd doesn't do it doesn't mean it's wrong. Actually, because the crowd doesn't do it, it means it's probably right and probably what you should do. And there are some jobs that don't allow this, like my job. When I used to work first shift, I had to get up at 4:30 in the morning just so I would be 2 minutes late because of commute, traffic, and parking, which is absurd. So I was waking up at 4:30 every morning, but I was not having a divine communion. I was rushing, and I was behind the 8 ball. And that was how I started my day, at 4:30 every day. And then I get out at 3, and I get home at 5, go to the gym, be done around 6:30, eat, go for a walk with my dogs and my parents, and then it's 7 o'clock, 7:30. I gotta go to bed again in a couple hours. The day's over. And then you can't do your best work with that. You have your most important work you need to do, the work that will quote unquote set you free from your 9 to 5. You're telling me you're leaving the scraps of your day for that? You have to give your morning that. The morning is when you give yourself over to your most important work before the chaos of the day sets in. You can sit there and say, you can schedule out your day and say, okay, from this block between 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock, I will be uninterrupted. I will be able to do deep work. And that's great. But say something comes up, something unforeseen, then that's ruined. But if you do it right when you wake up, nothing unforeseen can happen. You have 4 hours in the morning, you get your most important work done, and then the rest of the day is just yours. Yours to either keep working and you're getting bonus work done, which is, amazing. Or you're, say you just want to chill and go hang out with friends. You have that. Or say you want to just read and go for walks. You have that. And, my time, I know me saying 4 hours is kind of off schedule with society with working 8 hours a day. But I think if you're doing deep creative work, there's a lot of studies backing that after 3 to 4 hours of your mind really hammering home on deep creative work, you're kind of exhausted. Your mind's kind of like tapped out, and it needs a break and it needs to chill out. And I mean, I think that's, if you've ever done 3 to 4 hours of deep, intense mental labor, I think you'd agree. But when your whole life you've worked a job that you don't really need to bring forth a lot of mental activity, 8 hours seems pretty reasonable. And that's another, I won't go into this too much, but when I first got my job, I was thinking in terms of, all right, I work 8 hours every day, 5 days a week. I have 8 hours of my day to do the work, because I've always wanted to work myself out of a job. And I say, I got 8 hours to do the work, to work myself out of a job. Like, that's not bad. Like, you have to be pretty lazy to not use 8 hours to work yourself out of a job. You know what I mean? That's half your day. Like, that's fine. But I never realized, my commute with traffic, parking, walking was an hour and a half both ways. So that's 3 hours, 8 hour shift, 11 hours. All right, 5 hours left your day. That's still reasonable. It's still reasonable, but I like going to the gym. So that's, just say 2 hours right there. It's a little rounded up, but for the sake of numbers, 2 hours. So then I have 3 hours to, you know, eat, because I mean, you got to eat after you don't have to eat after the gym, but presumably you eat. We'll add that to the 2 hours for the gym because I rounded up. So you have 3 hours. Say you do work for 3 hours. That's your scraps. That is your scrap. 3 hours. That is 3 hours after you've been up for 13 hours. You think you're gonna be this savant with your work, just floating like you're in communion with the same thing that created the stars? No. You're gonna be tired. You're gonna be thinking about the work you have to do the next day, how you have to put in 13 hours after 8 hours of sleep if you're lucky, in a couple hours. You're not gonna do your best work. And that's why it's so valuable to give yourself the morning. And it's so valuable to understand what you're signing up for with your job. If you actually truly work an 8 hour job, you're not working 8 hour shifts, because you have your commute, you have the time it takes to get ready, the time it takes to wind down. Say you have no commute and you can walk to work in a minute, that's still an 8.5 hour, 9 hour ordeal. No 8 hour job is truly 8 hours. And that's why this working at home thing, I believe, is amazing. Because other than the time it takes to wind up and wind down, you work what you say you work. No job in the world, well, some jobs do, but most jobs in the world don't pay you for your commute. They don't pay you for the 30 minutes it takes you to get ready, the 30 minutes it takes you to wind down. They just pay you for the time you're there. And a lot of jobs just pay you, whether you're doing good work or not. If you just show up and do the work, you get paid. But if you're doing mediocre work, it doesn't matter. That's just a little side tangent, but I really want to focus on how valuable it is to seize the morning. The morning is, if you can start your day off with a win, I personally hate feeling like I'm playing catch up all day. Feeling like I need to get something done that I didn't get done. But once you get the most important, everyone's different, but once you get the most important stuff in your day done in the morning, you just feel good the rest of the day. Like, whatever you do is bonus. Like, life is just bonus. Enjoying the sun is bonus. But when you're enjoying the sun and you haven't done any of the work you were supposed to do, it's just gnawing at you in the back of your head and you can't truly enjoy it. So no matter what your situation is, I urge you to try to get a schedule that allows you to cease the morning. And I believe you need a couple hours to do this. And everyone's different, but whatever that looks like for you, whether it's going for a walk, going to the gym, reading, writing, whatever that may be. And if you're going to read in the morning, I urge you to read a classic. And what I mean by a classic is a book that you know is going to be valuable. You know, say like, Epictetus' Discourses, the Bible, Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. Um, you know, any really good book, the Dhammapada, the Bhagavad Gita, Seneca's Hardships and Happiness, Seneca's Letters to a Stoic, um, the Four Agreements, Rules for a Night, like books that are going to give you valuable practical lessons. Don't read some action novel that's just going to, fill your head with, I mean, nonsense, really. I mean, there's a time and a place for novels, I think, but like if you're reading Star Wars and it's, the first couple hours of the day, I don't even know if Star Wars has a book. It might. I don't. Let's just say Lord of the Rings for that reason. But say you start your day off reading Lord of the Rings. What valuable information are you going to get that day to bring forth to your life? But if you read Marcus Aurelius and you get the quote, give yourself a gift, the present moment, you can carry that with you the rest of your day. But if you read like You Shall Not Pass from Gandalf and The Lord of the Rings, like what are you gaining from that all day except for like a cool moment? You know what I mean? Um, just something to think about. If you're going to read in the morning, I stress that you read a timeless classic. And then if you want to read at night, or read even at night, I'd say read a timeless classic. But say you have time during the middle of the day, sure, read your novel, read your Red Rising, your 1984, your Brave New World. Even though those are kind of philosophical, but still, I think there's a lot of junk you have to sift through in novels. And I shouldn't say junk, but just trivial things. Um, but yeah, I hope this gives you the push to seize the morning, because if you're telling yourself you're not a morning person, but you understand how divine the morning is, understand that I'm in the same boat, and I don't allow myself to lose the morning because of how divine it is. I seize the morning because of how divine it is. And I always feel so much better when I wake up early. I read, I write, and say get a video in and go to the gym, and that can all be done by 10 a.m. But then I don't feel like I'm playing catch up the rest of the day. Sometimes I wake up at 9 a.m. and then I can just think about those days that I had everything that was important to me done by 10. And then everything else was bonus. And I got more things done. I read more, I wrote more, I made more videos. And then I hung out with friends and I went for walks, and that's a great full day. But it's hard for me to do that when I'm playing catch up. And I believe it's hard for everyone else. So just be honest with yourself and ask yourself, am I missing something? Am I missing a divine communion that I could be having by staying up till midnight watching trivial television? You must be honest with yourself.